Good morning, good afternoon. How about you? How about you, world? This is Uncle T-Bone coming in for a little Sensigreen Sunday at Radio Free Auburn. Going to be a quick show today. It's kind of the dead season in sports, but we wanted to get in and give everybody an update on where we are and where we're going with our platform and a good check-in on a few other things going on in the sports world. I'm Uncle T-Bone Wade Bennett, Auburn High, class of 1993, another brick in the wall, and it's a Sensigreen Sunday. That's right, every Sunday here at Radio Free Auburn, brought to you by our partners at Sensigreen Heating and Air. Give them a call at 334-336-6072. Ask for my friend Jeff Dakotu and tell him that Uncle T-Bone sent me. From air conditioning repair to heating installation and even spray foam insulation. Modern HVAC systems are engineered to provide exceptional performance throughout the service life of the equipment. It's a complex machine. It's important to partner with a qualified contractor who is dedicated to delivering exceptional service at fair prices. That is my friends at Sensigreen. Give them a call every Sunday, Sensigreen Sunday here at Radio Free Auburn. Auburn, Opelika, Montgomery to LaGrange, even up to Huntsville and down to the Gulf Coast. That is a certified carrier service company. Sensigreen Heating and Air, they're great people, and we appreciate them partnering with us here at Radio Free Auburn. They even gave me a free t-shirt. Can you feel it? That's how you brand, folks. Look, had a lot of people contacting me. Have not been on the air, not since this Friday, but the Friday before. Okay, quick review. People were thrilled. We got out into the field, right? After we recommended everybody go up, not this past Friday, but the Friday before, to Mosebent Creek and hear my man Blanton Callan, the piano man, play. Tons and tons of followers and friends of this show were there. We had a very late night, okay? I'm going to go ahead and tell you, last Saturday I had to take a couple of the Excedrin migraine and hydrate fully all day. I hydrated fully in preparation for going up there. I got bushwhacked. Saw Ricky Carmack up there, my good friend, the owner at Mosebent Creek. We had a great time, so I'm telling you, we're going to continue to try and do that for local artists that we love here at Radio Free Auburn. Get out. Whether you're in art, whether you're into music, whether you're into radio, we just want to promote people we care about, and that's what this is all about, bringing people to people. And it was a great show, and you missed it, and you should be sorry you missed it. It was a lot of fun. So next time we got a good show up at Mosebent Creek, I'll let you know about it. Got a lot of feedback while I was out in the field. A few folks felt like I was a little too hard on Georgia last week. That I was last show on the Fairway Auto Brokers Friday edition of Radio Free Auburn. They said I was a little too hard on the Bulldogs. We're going to get to that in a little bit, but Georgia had made the news during that time, and the Atlanta Journal-Constitution coming after them for out-of-control culture, reckless, some of the headlines. I'm going to share a quick link from Josh Pate. This was sent to me, and I watched this episode about the whole thing, and Pate kind of takes a different look at this. Josh Pate has a show on YouTube. It's a fantastic show. Super well produced. Almost as good as this one. But it's called The Late Kick with Josh Pate. I'm going to put this link out there. Y'all watch this at your time. We're not going to get too much into his work here today. Like I said, this was pretty quick. We might rebound on this again when the story... But as usual, the story festered up like a nasty sore. And luckily for Georgia, it came out right there at the holiday weekend of July 4th. And everybody ran for the hills up into Highlands and Cashiers, North Carolina, and hid out. And now it's kind of seemed like it's past, right? Because the dead season in college football is about the worst time of year you can put a story out unless it's really got some teeth. Mr. Pate kind of describes here in his show that I linked that it may not have quite the teeth that the AJC made it out to be. And he also kind of goes into detail, because I got this question a lot. Why is the Atlanta Journal-Constitution firing down on basically their hometown team? Lots of reasons why. He kind of indicates that something happened over there a couple of years ago, perhaps that it's a struggling newspaper and they needed a big score, and they needed a big break, and they needed some listeners and some lookers to their website. Not necessarily calling it clickbait. There's a lot of nasty to that story, but it's an interesting take by Pate. You know, I've said it and I'll say it again, this time of year, even though college football's changed, even though the climate of college football is fully changed, that cannot even be debated any longer. And stay tuned to this show. You might just get a written article about that from yours truly here before the season starts. Got some stuff we're working on. But I'm telling you, football being year-round, recruiting's just full throttle right now. It's just news breaking left and right. We're going to get to that. It never seems to stop. This summertime used to be really a dead period in college football. Now it's not. Heck, SEC Media Day starts July 17th. That's 8 days now to the de facto start of college football. I mean, it'll be here before we know it. So in the past, we've said this, if your program was in the news right now, generally it was bad news, okay? And not necessarily the case, but it still kind of holds some water. We got an interesting article that broke on some bad news in college football for Northwestern University of all places. We're going to link this article right here, cbssports.com by David Cobb. Ex-Northwestern players claim hazing involves sexualized acts after school suspends Coach Pat Fitzgerald. Again, you really and truly do not want your program in the news for anything but recruiting right now. And really and truly, that's hopefully that you're locking down recruits right now. So here's another story that's breaking. About once a week from now until football season, I think you'll see some the negative stories be filtered out to kind of create the fodder that people look for in their content on their websites. I'm not saying that none of this happened and that it's very media driven, that these stories sometimes get sensationalized according to Josh Pate and that YouTube that I linked. But, you know, it is what it is. If any of that's true, it's got to get cleaned up, and I'm sure it will, but, you know, it's not the end of the world. And Georgia fans kind of felt like I was a little too hard on them a couple of Fridays ago. Alabama fan I ran into also felt like I was a little too hard on Kirk Herbstreit and his, you know, in the last show I talked about his basically profession of faith to Nick Saban and how he's the man in college football and that's it, and that's his favorite guy. Look, I mean, I wasn't being hard on him. I was just pointing out the obvious. There's bias in the sports media, just like there's bias in all media, and there's bias in all of us because all of us in some way, form, or fashion are a fan of a program. Of course there's bias. Of course he likes Nick Saban the most. Nick Saban's made it rain for ESPN. So I'm kind of seeing a little bit of maybe we were a touch tough on Georgia. That remains to be seen, but not on the AL.com article on Kirk Herbstreit. Give me a break. I'll tell you another thing about AL.com that kind of a little struggling right now with the media. And I know I'm creating some fodder and some content for us here at Radio Free Auburn, but last week, right at the 4th of July, Auburn missed out on a 5-star recruit who committed to Texas A&M over Auburn, Cam Coleman. Some people argue he's the best player in the state of Alabama. I think that remains to be seen. The big issue was that the kid was 30 minutes down the road and playing high school football at Central High in Phoenix City, and he decided to leapfrog over 30 minutes from Auburn and go almost an entire time zone. They're still in the Central Time Zone, but almost an entire time zone away to play at Texas A&M. The media in this state made this a pretty big story. One thing that they did not report, and I will link that story here, on the same day is that Auburn got a commitment from a kid at Clay Chalkville that very same day. For some reason, AL.com made a big article about Cam Coleman picking A&M over Auburn, and basically that Auburn was failing in recruiting. It wasn't that quite drastic, but it did kind of have a tone to it, like, hey, they whiffed on this one. And then that very same day, a four-star linebacker from Clay Chalkville, D'Angelo DJ Barber, committed to Auburn over Texas A&M, Arkansas, Ole Miss, and Georgia. So you win some, you lose some, right? That's recruiting, especially at Auburn. I think that why this was kind of made a bigger deal about Cam Coleman committing to Texas A&M over Auburn is that it seemed for a very long time he was in Auburn's camp. I will remind everybody that December is signing day, so there's still a long ways to go. He could still end up at Auburn. A couple of things that jumped out to me immediately was the head coach over at Central Phoenix City is one Pat Nix. That's Bo Nix's dad, who was a former quarterback at Auburn that we remember started as a freshman in 2019. And Pat Nix, who was a former quarterback at Auburn who made two of the most dramatic throws to Frank Sanders in Auburn history in the 1993 Iron Bowl, coming off the bench to relieve an injured Stan White. Frank DeSanders he leaped over the famous words of Jim Fife, Tommy Johnson, or Antonio Langham. It was Tommy Johnson. Saved the undefeated season. Fourth and forever. Boom, touchdown Auburn. And then down the next year in Florida, Nix to Sanders. I mean, you can go to YouTube. I might have to pull that up here in a minute and just watch Jim Fife. Just listen to Jim Fife go crazy. It's just a spectacular Auburn football history. And you would think, hey, if he's the coach over there, he's going to be sending everybody to his alma mater. No. I don't think that's how it works anymore in college football. A couple of things that jumped out is what kind of relationship does the Nix family have with Auburn after Bo Nix transferred from Auburn to Oregon and is still playing there? In like his 15th college football season, Nix came in at a very difficult time in Auburn football history. It was evident that Malzahn was close to the end of his rope as head coach at Auburn. And then Auburn decided to bring in Brian Harsin, which was a complete disaster as head coach. Is there a bad taste in the Nix family mouth about Auburn and how all that played out? I don't know. Could have had something to do with it. He could be like, you don't want to go to Auburn. The real connection here is part two, though. And I don't know if there's a bad taste in their mouth, so don't run around saying Uncle T-Bone said Nix won't send any of his players from Phoenix City to Auburn. I don't know anything like that, and I don't want to know. It's not what I do here. But I will point out, what I do here is this. The head coach at Texas A&M, one Jimbo Fisher, was Pat Nix's quarterback coach at Auburn the entire time he was at Auburn. Or at least while he was playing as the starter at Auburn. When he stepped into the game in 1993 in the Iron Bowl until he left in 1995 when we got blown out by Penn State in, I believe, what was the Citrus Bowl? Hall of Fame Bowl? I don't know. It was the Brutal Bowl. I remember that. New Year's Day 1996, game started like 8 in the morning. By 8:30, Auburn was getting dominated. But those years, really, that time span, those 3 years while he was here, Jimbo Fisher was his quarterback coach, Tommy Bowden was his offensive coordinator, Terry Bowden was his head coach, the Bowden coaching tree. So they obviously go way back, one Pat Nix and Jimbo Fisher. He was his quarterback coach at Auburn. They go way, way, way back. And you got to wonder if there's some type of connection there that kind of helped facilitate this Cam Coleman, who may not even wanted to stay in state. He may not even wanted to play in state. He may have wanted to go somewhere else. Look, Coach Nix, I love Auburn. I love Alabama. I love the state. I want to go away to college. Where can I go? I know a guy. He used to be my quarterback coach. I'm going to call him. And y'all see if you can work something out. A lot of people also are jumping all over this story, this Cam Coleman Phoenix City kid to Texas A&M, once again saying this is something that's wrong with college football right now. Insinuating that Texas A&M's thrown just a gob of money at the Coleman family for NIL to get his signature or his commitment and then his signature to come out and play for them. And that basically it's out in the open, pay for play, which there's not anything wrong with it in the rules right now. And this is why, see, Uncle T-Bone, now it came home to roost. You said all the coaches were making a fool of themselves going up to Washington, D.C. looking for rules. And now it's one of your guys didn't show up at your team. Oh, how's it feel? Well, I really don't care. It's just the way it is now. And if Texas A&M wants to go around paying players $1 million or $5 million or $5 for them to come to their program, and it's making these kids money, a lot of these kids come from a broken home. A lot of these kids come from some tough neighborhoods. A lot of these kids need some money. And if that's what it takes, and that violates the spirit of the rule, or whatever you want to call it, so be it. You're just going to have to evolve. You're going to have to adapt. And I don't think any kind of legislation is going to shut that down, because if you really think that back in the day kids weren't getting paid under the table to make these type of moves, I have some oceanfront property in Notasulga, and from Highway 14 you can see the sea. This has been going on since the beginning of time in recruiting, in real recruiting in college football. Now it's just out in the open. So there, see for you. It's just out in the open. I'm looking real quick at this Northwestern story. Pat Fitzgerald, they're kind of backing off. I think he got suspended for a couple of weeks without pay. It looks like there was some hazing within his program, or at least this is what the story implicates. Can we all just agree now that needs to stop, hazing? That kids die from that? I mean, that kids die from hazing every single year. There will be a story on Yahoo when I go to open up my email. Yeah, I'm old school. I got Yahoo email for now. Might have something new coming. Can we all, and it's like 19-year-old at Western Kentucky University dies from drinking too much and hazing. Can we just all agree that needs to stop and that it's stupid? I don't know. That kind of jumped out to me. If I'm a football coach, okay, in 2023, and I got to believe that Pat Fitzgerald is smarter than this, there is no way in hell there's going to be hazing, full-blown hazing, especially with perverted sexual acts in my football program. That ain't happening. I may lose my job because of W's and L's, but it's not going to be because senior class was going dazed and confused and paddling the freshman class. Charlie Cox, my man from Fairway Auto Brokers. Welcome aboard, Chuck. He's in Auburn High class in 1995 with a comment. A&M top class last year, I think. That's true, pretty much. How did that work out? Not very well. They lost to Auburn. So you got to have talent, but you also got to have the right fit at head coach and in your position coaches. We're going to get to that too. My success in college football theories go on good coach and good fit, and you got to have both. Yeah, it didn't work out too well for them last year. Basically, Carnell Williams punished Texas A&M in Jordan-Hare Stadium and saved Auburn's football program by doing it. It didn't work out well, Charlie. Man, good to have you in, brother. I hope you're doing well. I hope everything's going well out on the local circuit. All right, so I shared this thing with Josh Pate, too, who I would recommend all y'all begin to watch his. He's got good takes, man. That's a good show. I try not to watch too many of these shows because I don't want people to, I want to be me. I want to be authentic. I don't want to be like, hey, I heard that on the Josh Pate show and Uncle T-Bone's copying it crap, the haters out there that look for any way to get at you. But he's got a really good show and makes some good points that this story may not be as big a deal as the AJC tried to make it out to be and sensationalize it. I will say this, a couple of my dog fans were foaming at the mouth and barking at me up there at Ricky Carmack's Moe's Mint Creek. And basically, they fell right into my new theory that I'm going to put out here today on Sensigreen Sunday. Right after this break, stay tuned. I've got a new theory on denial of problems with your program in college football, right? As always, we're going to play a little Jupiter Cody during the break. I got to get a drink of water. Sorry, I got a slight cold. You might be able to hear it in my voice. But we're going to play a little Jupiter Cody. We'll be right back, and I'm going to unleash my new denial theory of problem in college football for your team when bad things happen. We are back at Radio Free Auburn, and there is a storm brewing up ahead. It's not just the ship in the bottle right there by Jupiter Cody, Matthew Mays, and the boys. It's the college football season 2023, the de facto start date here on July 17th, 8 days away, SEC Media Days. And then it's on, folks, and it'll be on us so fast it'll make your head spin, right? Next thing you know, it'll be January 1. Uncle T-Bone will be dodging the COVID like I did a couple of years ago during New Year's when I had to sit through the dirty sock bowl and watch Auburn blow a lead to Houston again that season. Golly, we have come so far since then. Welcome back to Radio Free Auburn. I'm yours truly, Uncle T-Bone Wade Bennett. Auburn, high class in 1993, and it's a Sensigreen Sunday. Give him a call. Give my friend Jeff Decotu, the French Indian from Boston, MA, baby. He's the HVAC and spray foam man here in Lee County. Sensigreen, your authorized carrier dealer. All right, so what we did right there before playing Jupiter Cody is in the business like what we like to call a tease. No one likes a tease except in radio. And Georgia fan got really upset with me up there at Moe's Bent Creek. And then I bought him a couple bushwhackers. I heard him out. We were hugging by the end, singing Piano Man to the Piano Man, Blanton Callan, right? It was a fantastic Friday night. I like to get out in the field and get a feel for what the average fan has to say, because that's what this show's all about. From a fan, for the fans, right? I speak for you, you speak for me, Radio Free Auburn. And it's all about denial. When the bad news hits, what do we do as fans? The 4 Ds, baby, and the denial theory of Uncle T-Bone. We defame, we defend, we deflect, and then we get delusional. And right now, Georgia fan is in defame mode. You can see this in the Josh Pate YouTube vlog the video blog that I sent, that I linked up his YouTube channel. Check him out. You defame, man. It's the media. What do we expect from the mainstream media? What do we expect from AL.com? They've been hating on Auburn forever. It's the REC doing work again. They're out to get us. You shoot the messenger. Oh my God, that was posted on Fox News. That's not real news, Uncle T-Bone. That's what I got straight as soon as I walked in the door. High five Ricky Carmack at Mosement Creek in Auburn. Bartender slings me a bushwhacker with a screwball topper. I go to get a swallow because it's been a long day, and my arm gets grabbed by dog fan. They start barking at me, shooting me as the messenger. I didn't write the article. Okay, the AJC did. And I know it was behind a paywall. And I'm not paying for that crud, but it did get sent to me. I can't post it because it's behind a paywall. I'm not going to do that. And it's an in-depth article. There were a lot of issues in Kirby Smart's tenure at Georgia on and off the field in the program. There's a lot of bad things, newsflash, that happen within college football programs that most of us will never hear about. I don't want to hear about it. I damn sure don't want to see it because I just want to be a fan, man. But they were shooting me. They were shooting the AJC. You know, the AJC's been out to get us. A bunch of nerds from Georgia Tech. They hate us. They're jealous, envious, blah, 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 blah. Y'all are all, we're the two-time defending national titles. Y'all are wrong. We're right. We're good. I get it. We all do it. I mean, how bad did Auburn fan get after Mark Schlabach when that guy tried to come down to the Plains and report about the Cam Newton stuff in 2010. You talk about hazing. He got hazed on national television right outside Jordan-Hare Stadium. That's defamation, baby. We defame what we don't like from the media. And sometimes it's real because there is a bias in media. Kirk Herbstreit's proved that. He loves Alabama football because of Nick Saban. In fact, said it himself. I like Nick the best. He's my mentor. He's right. Everyone else is wrong. I mean, this is called Radio Free Auburn. I'm an Auburn fan. I got a Cam Newton painting in my office because he helped win us a national title. Of course, everyone's biased. Okay? Preaching to the choir. But Georgia fan was out for blood after that article. Now I think they've all calmed down. And it'll probably all blow over, really. What are they going to do to Kirby Smart? Run him out of town? Okay. It's 1-2 back-to-back national titles. He's on the verge of the first team to be doing that ever. I believe since like Minnesota in the 30s. Being a 3-timer. But we defame, and then next comes the defense. We haven't got to that stage yet, but it's coming. You're going to see this at SEC Media Days when Kirby Smart finally speaks about all this. And they'll pepper him with questions. Are you running a reckless program? Do you have a lack of character within your program? What's the culture of your program? Blah, 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 blah. And Mr. Bowl coach will, he'll say this and say that and won't say a whole lot. And everybody will be like, see, he's the man. We'll defend him at this point. If Kirby Smart says it's such, then it's such. I hear this from Alabama fans all the time about Nick Saban. And look, that man's probably earned the right to say whatever he wants. He's not always right. Most of the time he is, but he's not always. He's not infallible. None of us are. We're all sinners. So watch for this in the next couple of weeks when things start picking up, that the defense mode will come in. I don't think anybody's going to defend Northwestern because I'm not really sure they've got enough fans to defend what's going on. Why they just need to stay out of the news. Then comes the deflection. And any of these are interchangeable, right? You can start with deflection. Okay, you can just start straight out. They call it the Fulmer Cup for a reason. Tennessee's dirtiest program in the history of college football. Fact. It's called the Fulmer Cup. Why are we even talking about Georgia? We're good. Alabama had 4 players under Nick Saban playing the knockout game. Every program does it. The deflection mode. How can anybody from Auburn ever comment about anything wrong with NCAA? Much trouble as y'all been in. I've heard it 100 times. And then finally, when the cat's out of the bag and you're busted, it's straight delusional mode. Well, I'm never going back. If any of that they said happened, I'm never going back. I'll never buy another ticket. I've heard people say this so many times, and I just shake my head like you're full of it. You'll be back. You love it. Had an Auburn fan who's a friend of mine tell me that he's never going back after they hired Hugh Freeze. You'll be back. That's delusional. This is the life we choose. So there it is. That's my new theory. I came up with that midway singing songs with the Piano Man, Blanton Callan at Moe's Bent Creek. The 4 stages of denial when bad news hits your college football program. They're interchangeable, but it generally goes defame, defend, deflect, and then get delusional. You hear it all here at Radio Free Auburn. Remember that next time something bad happens to your program and people start attacking you, or when something bad happens at one of your rivals' programs. All these things circle anyway. There's always issues. Stuff that's probably happened at Georgia's happened at almost every SEC program ever at some point. So, yeah, I think I might have been a touch hard on Georgia fan, but you brought a lot of that on yourself, too, because you're straight up in the defamation mode right now because of that story. We'll see if it goes any further. So, this time of year, like I said, it's kind of dead. I enjoy watching Wimbledon. A lot of people don't like tennis. I think tennis, it was a very sexy game in the late 80s and 90s when Agassi and those guys were straight up with Nike, and just the ads were great and the tennis was wild. It's still wild. Do yourself a favor and watch a little bit of Wimbledon. If you want to see art and motion in sports, watch some Wimbledon. One thing that y'all remember the show Family Guy, and when Peter Griffin would have his local TV show, which I'm trending towards, called You Know What Grinds My Gears? Right? And it's just straight up negativity. And we're trying to stay positive here, but it is the silly season. One thing I noticed, though, while I was watching Wimbledon, I was watching a match this morning. There's a 16-year-old named Mira Andreeva who has made a run at Wimbledon. She's 16, okay? And she upset Popovac, I think was her name, in this last round. She's headed to the final, is that the quarterfinal she's heading to? And it was just fantastic tennis. That was fantastic. And watching them play on that grass and the spin and the flow and what they do, it's just, if you think that that's a quote-unquote girl sport, get out there and try and play a little tennis and see what happens to your body. I promise you, I can drink a 6-pack of beer while playing golf, get a ride home from the old lady, of course, and still be able to play golf. Might even be able to play a little better. Try and drink a 6-pack of beer and play tennis. Good luck with that. So I've been watching a bunch of Wimbledon. Uncle T used to play some tennis over there on the East Sanford courts, man, and behind the old Auburn High School, which is the junior high now. Used to play a little tennis there, man, a lot of tennis there, because we didn't have computers. We didn't have Radio Free Auburn. We damn sure didn't have a whole lot of money, so we had to find something to do during the summertime especially. And we'd go play some tennis, get an old racket out, find a couple old beat-up tennis balls in the backyard that the dog hadn't chewed up. Get out there and try and play some tennis like that, especially when you're 10 years old. You got nothing else to do all day. And your parents are like, you better not be on this couch when I get home from work. Okay? So I played a ton of tennis. I wish I'd have never quit. I wish I'd have never quit playing. In fact, I've started playing again, so I haven't. And I miss it. It's fun. Wimbledon's great. It's poetry in motion, man. But this Mira Andreeva, man, she's just playing lights out, 16 years old, man. Like I'm 148. I've got underwear older than her. Fact. Just a player, just a baller. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, where's this girl from? What's going on? Where's she from? Because everybody, I'm watching this other guy that I've gotten really interested in, Eubanks. He's from Atlanta, played at Georgia Tech. He's like 6'5", man. This kid is a baller. and he's like one of the last Americans in the men's singles. I gotta find his name. All right, we'll look for him in a minute. I'm sorry I got distracted there for a second. We'll get to Eubanks in a second. But it says right by his name, USA, and there's the old red, white, and blue. Hell, he might as well have Uncle Sam up there saying, I want you to play tennis. I have no idea where this Mira Andreeva is, so I look it up. She's from Russia. They don't have her flag. They don't have it's Russia. Apparently, I've been out of tennis so long last year, they wouldn't even let Russians and Belarusians play in Wimbledon because of the war in the Ukraine. They won't, but they can play now, but they have to quote unquote be neutral, right? And here's an article from AP that I found earlier in the year. Russian and Belarusian players will be able to compete at Wimbledon as neutral athletes after the All England Club on Friday reversed its ban from last year. So they're neutral, okay? And this is all about the war in the Ukraine, the Russian invasion into Ukraine. The All England Club says an incredibly difficult decision. Ukrainians are all ticked off about it. You know, foreign minister from Ukraine, Kuleba, has Russia ceased its aggression or atrocities? No, it's just Wimbledon decided to accommodate two accomplices in crime. Hold up, bro. Hold up. Now, I know you're at war. Martina Navratilova, the great one who's won 9 Wimbledon ladies championship, came out in support, said this was this needed to change. These are players. Let them play. And I agree with her. I'm going to post this article right here. And I know a lot of y'all aren't big tennis fans, and we're all big football fans here, but I like tennis and I love Wimbledon. I think it's cool. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, this girl's 16 years old. 16. She's just a few years older than my oldest son, who's growing like a weed, and I love him. Could you imagine if you were this girl's daughter? She may not even have her driver's license yet. And she's going to the quarterfinals of Wimbledon, and they can't even say where she's from? That's ridiculous. Like she started the war in the Ukraine. Miss little Mira Andreeva went over there and said, hey, Vlad, let's unleash the Wagner group on Kyiv. Okay. Like it's her fault that there's a war, or any of these tennis players from Belarus or Russia, that there's a war in the Ukraine between Russia. What are these people supposed to do? Come out and say, I'm not playing because my country's involved in a war in the Ukraine, so that they and their families can end up dead? Imagine the pressure on this girl. If she were my daughter, I'd be right there by her at these press conferences. You cannot say anything that the regime in Russia may find offensive, or we're going to end up in the gulag. It's not her fault there's a war in the Ukraine. This is the kind of stuff in today's world that drives me crazy. And it's not like it's the Olympics either. I don't want to get that crap. I had that discussion earlier with somebody. That's a whole different ball game. This is a tennis tournament, the world's greatest tennis tournament. This girl's from Russia, and I'm very proud of her. 16 years old. She plays tomorrow morning, I believe, at 5 a.m. I'm going to have to double check that. Look at my wife getting in and text. His name is Christopher Eubanks. He's 6'7", from Atlanta. Good show so far. That's right, babe. He's Buck. And if you follow this show, you know what that means. Buck is awesome in Radio Free Auburn land. Christopher Eubanks, I'm pulling for you, baby. USA, USA. And I'm pulling for the 16-year-old. Well, she does play an American tomorrow. I can't pull for her. Sorry. She's going down. She's playing Keys from the U.S., who's playing fantastic tennis. I love Wimbledon. But that just kind of grinds my gears, in the famous words of Peter Griffin. How in the world is it this girl's fault that there's a war in the Ukraine? And at first I thought it was an NBC thing. Oh, no. This is the International Tennis Federation, the ITF, for those at home. The ITF, right? You got to be neutral. Man, this girl probably just wants to play tennis, get her driver's license, go to the mall, Maybe go get one of those big cookies from the mall with her friends and go shopping, right? It's not her fault there's a war in the Ukraine. Found the article finally on Christopher Eubanks. I'm going to put this in the link. America shocked Wimbledon hope. Meet Chris Eubanks, the son of an Atlanta Baptist who skipped Sunday service for tennis. The 6'7" star is one of the stories of the tournament. He's a player, man. I love that. I love tennis. I'm going to start playing again. My man, Blake Brewer's in. My man, Blake Brewer's in. He said he blew his knee out last year playing tennis. Never playing tennis again, Bone. It's a tough sport, man. I played this week for the first time with my lovely old lady. She loves it when I call her that. We went out and played a match to 8 early in the morning. And I think I lost 22 pounds. God, it's a fun game, man. Tennis is a great sport. And it's something that you can, unless you're Blake Brewer blowing your knee out, play the rest of your life. Pickleball's big too. So, I just noticed that about Wimbledon. They're just not even going to talk about these folks. They're from Russia. You're lucky to be here, little girl. What do you think about the war? Can you imagine her in a press conference? Hopefully they've got enough sense not to go full-blown mongrel media and start hammering her. What do you think about Vladimir Putin and the invasion? Look, man, just let her play tennis. That's the one thing about sports that I've always enjoyed. It transcends political problems, or at least it used to, or political issues, or even wars. And the ball don't lie. Talent is talent. And it's respectful no matter if it's from Kyiv or Moscow or Belarus or Atlanta, Georgia. That's the way we see it here at Radio Free Auburn. Got a few minutes left to go. We're going to do about 10 more minutes. We talked about a lot of stuff here at Sensigreen Sunday. Having a good time. Was up with some family in North Alabama this past week. We talked about the expansion of the playoffs. Part of my family's got some crimson and white in it. They seem to all be pretty happy that the playoffs have been expanded to 12, and some of the exact things that were said were, well, we'll always be in now. Teams like Georgia and Alabama, they should probably almost always be in the 12-game playoff for the foreseeable future, right? I mean, heck, they're almost in the 4-game playoff every year. Of course they're going to be in the 12-game playoff. And they kind of seem a little giddy, these bigger programs. I'm hearing from folks, it's like this is their safety net. It seems like that we're all looking for a safety net right now in college football, or like a ship in the bottle from Jupiter Cody, a harbor, a safe harbor from the storm that's coming. And there is a storm coming in college football. It's not just going to be the regular season either. There's some stuff that's going to shake up college football for a long time, very quickly in the next year. I think in the next 6 months, you're going to see a lot of changes. And it's going to be a whirlwind. In college football, you're caught up in it. Everyone's looking for their storm shelter right now. For some of these elite teams, they're like, well, okay, with all this expansion and things getting tougher, there's more possibilities that we might lose games, so we need to open it up, and we're always going to be in the 12-game playoff. And I see that. I see that on face value, right? I'm like, yeah, that kind of makes sense, right? I mean, if you're Alabama now, if you're 5, well, like last season, you're in, or if you were 7 one year, you're in, right? But I also see a different side to that coin, almost a poison pill now to these elite programs. And hear me out on this one. If you were just below that level of elite in college football, and over the last, I don't know, since the BCS playoffs started, I've said there's 5 teams that have really been the elite. Alabama, not in any particular order, Alabama, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Clemson, and Georgia. And then Michigan is kind of trending that way, right? LSU's kind of trending that way. But I look at a team like Penn State. I look at a team like Washington. I look at a team even like Auburn. Yeah, if they get their act together, and I think they're doing that right now. Those teams have the possibility of being in the college football playoffs almost every year now, too. And how would you like that if you're one of the elite teams, right? You're one of the elite teams, and say you're Alabama, and you squeak by Auburn, a good Auburn team, like you did in the 2021 season at Jordan-Hare. Quadruple overtime or whatever it is. I can't even remember. I've halfway blocked it out. And you got the guy doing the crane kick at the end. We exercised the demons, Jordan-Hare. Mechie going wild, right? And you think you've just stuck a knife in Auburn. And you did. They were so bad that season, it was more like a mercy kill. But that's it. Boom! There's a knife to the heart, Auburn. Can you feel it? No, you can't, because you're done. But say that's a good Auburn team, right? And that was only their second loss. And next thing you know, you're number 1 in the country, and they're the 12th seed. And you get a bye the first week, and they win again, and you got to go up against them again. Ruh-roh, that's not what we were looking for. And I know that the elite teams and their fans will be like, well, we're bad. We don't fear that. We don't fear that, Uncle T. Deep down you do. The last team that you want to see again every single year squeaking into the playoffs is your rival, your little brother. Georgia doesn't have to worry about that with Georgia Tech, but they may have to worry about it with Florida and Tennessee, right? Alabama has to worry about that with Auburn, LSU, and even A&M. That's kind of I did not, and this is honest, T-Bone, always here, right? I'm going to tell you how I feel even if it's incorrect. You can correct me, I don't care. I didn't think there should be a 12-team playoff because I don't think the number 8, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 teams have any business playing for the national championship or ever have in any ranking. I have never heard anyone say in my 41 years now of watching college football since Bo went over the top in 1982 say, you know what, Uncle T, you remember that 8th ranked USC team in 2000? They really should have got in the National Football Playoff. The closest you can even go back to, and I have, are some of these Bobby Bowden teams that would have a couple of early losses in the late 80s, early 90s, and would end up ranked about 5th or 6th at the end of the year, and you did not want to play them. They could have won the national title game. Fact. But I've never, ever said if Auburn was ranked 8th at the end of the season, man, we should have got a shot at that national title. We deserve it. It's completely apples and oranges to the NCAA basketball field of 64. Because you've seen teams just rise up out of nowhere and win national title. No one. Sammy Smith and the Knowles, that's exactly right, Jeff Harris. Those were good teams by the end of the year. You don't want any part of them. I'm telling you, man. And so I was like, no. There doesn't need to be 12. But now I'm starting to see, wait a minute now. They're not just going to take the top 6 elite teams, right? And then fill out the other 6 with Troy and App State and UCF. No offense to those programs. There's been plenty of years where those teams would deserve to be in a 12-team playoff. They're going to fill them out with your rivals. And next thing you know, in the first round, you might catch Alabama have to play Tennessee again. Or Georgia has to play Florida again. Or Oklahoma has to play Texas again. Or Oklahoma State. How's that going to taste? Their fans will be rabid in that playoff game. Their team will be out for blood with a hatchet. And it is hard to beat a team twice in one season. Ask LSU in 2011. The same team. Twice in one season. So, I'm telling you, man, that 12-game playoff, the NIL, the portal, the players probably going to unionize eventually, the money. There's a storm, a brewing, baby. It is coming in college football, and everyone's going to be looking for a shelter. I think a lot of these elite teams really push for this 12-game playoff, and they think it's the storm shelter and it's not. they've opened themselves up to attack from their rivals. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, watch that 12-game playoff coming. How imagine the first year, say Alabama goes, they're number 2 in the nation, and Auburn or Tennessee sneaks in as that 11-12 seed, and they match up and get beat. They'll be running to change the rules back. We just need to do 4. Oh my goodness! So that was that's my take on it. I was against that 12 game, and just because I was like, it's the 18 doesn't have any business playing for a national title. But now I'm like, okay, be careful what you ask for, folks. You may just get it in life and in college football. Randy Rowe, my man from Montgomery, dude, how you doing? Mr. Pittsburgh, hadn't heard from you in a long time. Hope you're doing well. The situation at Northwestern is much worse than reported. The head coach may be fired over this. More info coming in, and it looks bad. Look, dude, you can't have hazing. That's an archaic thing, man. And I know what people say, dude. How can you got to make people learn what they get. And hazing, people die from that stuff. I mean, these TikTok challenges and all this crazy and revenge. I'm not even gonna go there. Hazing, dude, you can't have that crap in your program. You can't have it. You talk about getting sued. You talk about getting that. You know what? I'm the head coach at Northwestern, Uncle T-Bone Wade Bennett. I might get fired because we're going to lose to Michigan 56-0, but it's not going to be because my players got hazed. Fact. Doesn't make you any more of a man, doesn't make you any tougher. All it does is open you up to getting your ass in a whole lot of trouble. That is no bueno, baby. Man, Jeff Harris is in. Got a good crowd in this Sunday. So, look, we're going to wrap it up. Talked about a lot. Kind of gotten over all this Georgia stuff. I'm sure that'll flare back up soon. Kirk Herbstreit still loves Alabama. It's okay. It's okay, folks. I like Nick Saban too. Hell, I wish I could get him on the phone and he could be my mentor. He'd probably straighten everything out. Talked about Auburn losing out on a big-time 5-star commitment from Phoenix City. And were there some other factors outside of just money on that? Bad taste in the mouth for the Knicks family with Auburn? I don't know. I mean, I read message boards. Nobody really knows the truth of that except them. Or a connection to Jimbo Fisher and the kid just wanted to leave the state. Pat Nick's like, look, man, I was with this guy for 3 years. He's a good coach. A&M's got some problems, but they may be a little bit better. We're going to get more into this later. We'll be back Friday for sure. Fairway Auto Brokers Friday. Probably do another Sensigreen Sunday, a few pop-ins. Got a new format hopefully coming to fruition with a little bit more possibility in the platform. Radio Free Auburn, the commitment this year is I'm going to be with you all football season. I said it here, unless something happens beyond my control, we're going to give it a football season. We're going to dip our toe in the water a little bit further. We're going to try and get better every day. We're going to ask for your support. Please keep following us. Please keep commenting. Please stay with us. I think you're going to like what's going to happen. It's not going to be anything real exotic. It's not going to be anything near as good as what Mr. Josh Pate does just yet. That's for sure. He's a pro. Some of these videos, man, that these guys are making, like Crane and Company, and they're fantastic. I love it. I think there's room for all of us on a more local level and a national level. I'm yours truly, Uncle T-Bone Wade Bennett. It's been fun this Sensigreen Sunday. Give Sensigreen a call, man. I'm telling you, if you got HVAC issues, you got insulation issues, give them a call, man. They're good people. They even gave me this t-shirt. I can probably get you one if you get a system put in. And if you don't want to call them, you want me to call them on your behalf, I'll be happy to do it. I highly recommend Sensigreen. All right, let's go. We'll see you Friday. Finish it up just a little bit longer with Jupiter Cody, and then we are out of here.
She
Radio Free Auburn, we will see you Friday.